The Young and the Restless Spoilers. Title: The Return of Jill Abbott, Unleashing the Power of a Matriarch. The whispers of Jill Abbott's return to Genoa City began to circulate long before she set foot back in town. For those who knew her, the mere mention of her name was enough to send a chill down their spines. Jill, the formidable matriarch of the Chancellor family, had always been a force to be reckoned with, a woman who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. And now, after a long absence, she was coming back, driven by the one thing that had always been her greatest motivation, her love for her son, Billy. Jill had never truly left Genoa City. Even from her luxurious estate in London, she kept a close eye on the happenings in her hometown, particularly when it came to her family. She had watched from afar as Billy navigated the treacherous waters of business and personal life, always ready to step in if things went too far. But Jill believed in her son's resilience, and for a time, she allowed him to handle his affairs on his own. However, as she monitored the situation from across the Atlantic, Jill's concern began to grow. Billy was struggling, and while he had always been capable of pulling himself out of the messes he created, this time was different. Michael Baldwin and Victor Newman, two of the most powerful and manipulative men in Genoa City, had set their sights on Billy. They were pressuring him, using every tool at their disposal to break him, and Jill knew that Billy was on the verge of collapse. The moment Jill saw the depth of their machinations, something snapped within her. Her son was in danger, and she could no longer stand by and watch. She knew that Billy had brought much of this upon himself, but he was still her child, and no one, especially not Michael and Victor, had the right to treat him this way. The decision was made in an instant. Jill was going back to Genoa City, and she was going to make sure that those who had wronged Billy paid the price. Jill's arrival in Genoa City was as dramatic as it was unexpected. She had barely recovered from her heart surgery, but the fire in her eyes made it clear that nothing would stop her. News of her return spread quickly, and the reaction was immediate. Michael Baldwin, who had been so confident in his ability to manipulate the situation, suddenly found himself on edge. Jill was the one person he had never been able to outmaneuver, and the thought of facing her now, when he was at the peak of his deception, terrified him. Victor Newman, too, felt a pang of unease. Though he was a man of immense power, Victor knew that Jill possessed secrets that could bring him to his knees. Over the years, they had maintained a tense but respectful relationship, each aware of the other's capabilities. But now, with Jill's sudden return, Victor knew that he had crossed a line that could cost him dearly. Jill wasted no time. As soon as she arrived, she summoned Billy to her side. The reunion was bittersweet, filled with a mixture of relief and guilt. Billy had always been proud, determined to prove himself to his mother, and seeing her now, after all the mistakes he had made, brought him to the brink of tears. He apologized profusely, admitting that he had failed, that he had allowed his anger and recklessness to lead him astray. But Jill, ever the strong-willed matriarch, would hear none of it. She embraced her son, not with pity, but with a resolve that only a mother could possess. "We all make mistakes, Billy," she told him, her voice firm but kind. "But what matters is how we rise from them. You are my son, and no one, has the right to treat you the way they have. We are going to set things right." With that, Jill set her plan into motion. She had always been a shrewd businesswoman, but this time, she was playing a different kind of game. She knew that to defeat men like Michael and Victor, she needed to use every weapon in her arsenal, including the secrets she had kept hidden for years. Victor, who had always prided himself on being untouchable, suddenly found himself on the defensive. Jill's knowledge of his past, of the skeletons he had kept buried, was a threat he could not afford to ignore. He knew that if those secrets were to come to light, they could destroy him, not just in business, but personally. The thought of being exposed, of losing everything he had worked for, was enough to make even Victor Newman reconsider his position. As the days passed, the tension in Genoa City reached a boiling point. Jill's presence loomed large, and the power dynamic began to shift. Victor, who had once been so eager to crush Billy, started to rethink his strategy. The risk was too great, and the potential fallout too severe. In a rare moment of humility, Victor approached Jill, offering her an apology and a truce. He would back off, leave Billy alone, and in return, Jill would keep his secrets safe.